Mic check.
Mic check. Look at the screen. Look at me. Okay. I don't like it like split in the middle too much.
Mm-hmm. How much do I owe you for the hairstyle you just did?
You ain't even ready. Now you're kicking the camera.
Okay.
Watch your feet, babe. Don't get too excited. Like, and then you put the camera.
Ready?
Always. Somewhat.
Over here.
Okay. I'm gonna try not to look over here.
Hey everybody, I'm Jalen.
I wasn't ready.
Ready?
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
Hey everybody, I'm Jalen.
And I'm Cacie.
And these are the Jalen and Cacie stories.
You're my girl. You're the type of woman to make a man get right. You're my world. You keep my mind spinning all through the night.
All right, everybody, we're here with our braids and long hair and sweater because it's sweater weather now. Nice and cool and chilly outside. It's fine Virginia winter.
Barely sweater weather.
Well, no, it's in Virginia, the seasons go back and forth. So tomorrow's going to be like 70 degrees. And it'll do that for a few weeks until we get into true winter. And then it's just cold. But until then, we'll enjoy our last few warm days. Today's topic is relationships and relating. In relationships.
Yeah.
Yes.
Relating in relationships.
Relating in relationships.
We was talking about this last week, I believe it was, or early part was last week. I think it was last week. We had like a car session, like a jam session of word.
We do a lot of good talking in cars.
We do. It was over the weekend actually. And we don't really know how many parts will be in this series because I really believe what we're about to share with you is very vital to your marriage relationship.
Yeah.
But we're going to take it from a different angle than where we probably used to us taking stuff. You know, we've been talking a lot about marriage. We talk about marriage all the time.
Yeah.
You know, but we want to build this foundation of how to relate in relationships of all types because there's different levels of relating and different levels of relationships that we believe you have to be successful in to help you be successful in your marriage relationships. And we'll break that down as we continue along. So we're just going to just allow the Holy Spirit to really just speak through us concerning that.
So here's what we believe. And I personally saw this recently reading the word, but the cornerstone of relationships, or the cornerstone of society, actually, the cornerstone of society and culture is marriage, right? And marriage was the first human relationship. The first relationship was father and son, God and Adam. But the first human relationship, Adam and Eve, was that of husband and wife. So the first human relationship that God was going to build his society on, his kingdom here on the earth, his society that he was going to build before it got ruined by the sin of man, the society that he was going to build was going to start with the first relationship, which was going to be marriage. And so I personally believe that if you want a society to fail, destroy marriages.
Absolutely.
And I believe that's why the devil comes after marriage so hard. With great difficulty we deal with marriages, because if you can destroy marriages, you can destroy the entire society, you can destroy the family, you can destroy the church, you can destroy the entire country. And when all those different pillars fail, then your whole society, your whole culture goes to hell, basically. And so the first thing that the devil did was he brought division in marriage. So I do believe marriage is a cornerstone of society. But what I realized is that marriage is like a master's level relationship that you are promoted to. But by failing to be properly trained in prior relationships, you can easily fail at a marriage.
Yeah.
Now, as we talk, we're going to talk a lot about the way that we believe things should run between parents and children, in a workplace, between coworkers, brothers and sisters, we're say parents and children, pastors and laymen,
People in authority,
leadership, and people submit to leadership, just any possible relationship, friendships between opposite sexes, same sexes, all that stuff. We're going to talk about all kinds of different relationships over the course of these several videos, however long they last. But as we talk, as you hear these things, it doesn't sound like the way you were raised or the way that you did things, but it resonates with you that what we're saying is correct, but you realize, well, I didn't do it the right way. None of what we're saying, I want to give a disclaimer now, is to condemn you or to make you feel like you messed up and your marriage is going to fail because you didn't do your relationship right. No. We're not saying that. We say this a billion times across several videos, but any two people that work the principles of marriage can succeed at marriage. I don't care where you came from. I don't care what you did wrong. I don't care what state you were in. If you were unsaved when you got married, I don't care. If you do the principles of marriage, your marriage will succeed 100% of the time.
But you have to know the root cause of a problem
Exactly.
before you can fix the problem. So that's what we're going to do, because
Yes.
neither one of us is sitting here thinking that we have done every type of relationship correctly. But we do realize that any major success we ever had in our lives is due to how we have treated someone in a relationship.
Yeah. And it informs how you come into, because once
Yeah.
again, relating is very simply this. There's a definition. What? Definition of relating and relationship is simply how you handle another person, how you treat another person, how they treat you, and that back and forth, that give and that take. And so if you're bad at relationships because you don't know what you're doing by the leading of the Spirit of God, then you're going to be probably bad going into marriage until you train those things out.
All the relating you do in other types of relationship, whether that be coworker, pastors, friends, anybody you have to deal with in any kind of relating situation, it builds a pattern of how you deal with people, and it sows seeds for your future marriage relationship. Especially if you're not married already and you're looking to be married, you need to really pay attention
And
to
I think
this.
the most important relationship that informs how you handle your marriage is the parent and child relationship. Honestly, we'll probably start there. And once again, like I said, the very first relationship that existed on this planet was between father and son, God and Adam. And then the first human relationship was man and woman. So we're going to really deal with that. But I say that because one thing, and here's a pro marriage tip right here, a good marriage key. If you want to start figuring out why things are happening the way they're happening in your marriage, why you are reacting the way that you're reacting to something your spouse does, or why your spouse is reacting, if y'all will ever sit down and kind of dissect each other psychologically, like you don't gotta be a psychologist, but it's real easy to just sit down and talk and learn how each other think. A root cause of a lot of the way that you act, the way that you act, has to do with your parents and the way you were parented and the way you respond to your parents or the lack of parenting, all that good stuff. The way you responded to the authority of whoever your leadership was, that informs a whole lot about how you handle your spouse, probably more than any other relationship. The parent and child relationship really impacts your marriage, even if I haven't talked to my parents in years. I didn't have any parents, maybe I was raised in the system, or I didn't have a father, or I didn't have a mother, or they died when I was young. All of that baggage really informs your marriage relationship and how you handle your spouse, and you bring all that with you. And I would say all the talking that we've done, dissecting each other and dissecting ourselves, it always goes back to our parents and how they handled us and how we handled them. That's probably where we want to start. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so parent and child relationships. So how does that deal with, because she's not my mom, right? And I'm not her dad. But one thing I realized, and the Holy Spirit showed me this recently, he told me this, and if you listen to what I'm about to say and think about it for yourself, you might find this is true for you too. I think it's true for most people. But he told me, he said, when you're trying to look at how to love your wife, he showed me that the best thing you can do is look at how, so talking about Cacie, he said, how did her father express love to her? Because if you understand how her father expressed love to her, you'll understand how she perceives and processes love. See, the problem is, and if you've read the book by Dr. Gary Chapman about love languages and everything, everyone has a different love language. And if two spouses get together and they have different love languages, a lot of times if my love language is acts of service and hers is gift giving, but I'm trying to love her with acts of service, but she needs to receive gifts to process love, then there'll be a disconnect there. And you're wondering, why can't I love my spouse? Why are they responding to me? Well, they speak a different love language than you. But one thing I realized, if you really want to go deep and find out exactly how your spouse particularly ticks, find out when it came to their parents, how they processed and received love from their parents, or even if they didn't receive it, or if they had a parent who was not present in their lives, even that will inform how they process love.
Or abusive, or just all kinds of things can shape and mold how you process love and what you think love is. So when you shared that with me, it was very powerful and it made a lot of sense. And he broke it down in a way I actually started crying.
Yeah.
Because he literally took the time. Well, God helped him, but he really took the time to understand how I process love and what I saw was love. And even in that, it helped me see some areas I need to work on, so that won't be my only mode of how I can receive love.
Yeah. And so, obviously these are our stories, so let's just get into some examples here. You know, for Cacie, what God showed me was that you called yourself a daddy's girl. You said that before, like, I'm a daddy's girl, like that. Her father, very present in her life to this day. Like the first man of her life, she got her cue on what a man should be, how a man should provide, how a man should love, all of that from her father, because her father is a very good man and was a very good father to her and is still a very good father to her. So I had to, anybody who was going to approach her to be her husband had a standard that they had to meet based on what he said. I think good fathers should do that. They should set a good standard so that, you know, the dregs of society, the scrubs don't get in there because you've got such a high standard. That's good. So he set a really high standard, and obviously I met that to some degree, at least in potential, to be able to marry you. To at least in potential to marry you. But what the Lord was showing me, and even though I knew how big of an impact her father had on her life, the Lord had really shown me, he said, you know, when you look at how he loved her, how he took care of her, you realize this is how she processes love and safety and protection and provision and all of that. And one thing that her father did for her was provided for her, took care of her very well. You know, I mean, I'll let you give more detail on that as much as you want to, but you lived very well. Your father provided a very good lifestyle for you and your household.
My dad, I never had to want for anything as far as anything. Now, my family went through a period of struggling financially and things like that when I was much younger. But when my parents got to a point where they could really provide for us, my dad made sure that we had everything. Like, I never had to wonder if I was going to eat, have clothes. My dad even lavished on me and my siblings all kinds of stuff. If my dad had it in his possession, it was basically mine. Yep. Even to this day, I can go to my dad and pretty much get anything from him, just with a smile. Like, that's how it is. But having that security, I was able to grow and develop and venture out in business and do things without having to worry about whether or not I was going to have someplace safe to stay. My dad bought me my first car, you know, and he made sure it was taken care of, and I had AAA, so I never had to worry about, you know, if I got, you know, broken down on the side of the road, that I didn't have something to help me. I mean, he always made sure I had all those things, so I was very used to that. Some people would say I was spoiled, but no, I wasn't spoiled. I was just taken care of very well. And I saw him do the same for my mom. You know, my mom, whatever she wants, she gets. Like, you know. So my dad is a giver. Yeah. So basically that's what I'm saying. My dad is a giver, and he gives out of everything he has. Yep. He doesn't hold anything back. Yep. And so I was used to growing up with a man that was an avid giver.
Yeah. And, you know, like you said, he tells us, because he's also my pastor, so he's told the story of his financial journey to financial prosperity. He told the stories of how when he started out, he first married your mother, you know, how they didn't have much, but he made a promise to her that, you know, we're going to follow the laws of prosperity according to the word of God, and we're going to get out of this situation that we're in now, and we are going to, you know, have more than enough. Yeah. And he followed those steps out, because you can tell the stories about, you know, deep poverty that they went through when you were very young. And then they came out of that by the grace and the favor of God, and they worked the principles of tithing and giving and all of that.
But one thing that my dad did, he always made a promise. Yeah. And he always met and kept those promises. There's still promises right now that he is waiting to fulfill. Yeah. He's going to fulfill them, because he's a man of his word. When I was 16, 17, my dad gave me my first diamond ring. And I wear it to this day. Yep. This ring right here. You know, and it's real. And I got a couple more after that too, just bragging on my dad. But this was the first one, because he didn't want our first experience with something nice to come from another guy, another man. You know, he wanted to make sure that his girls had good stuff, so we wouldn't be duped. You know, had to, you know, be deceived by some guy to giving us nice stuff. So he made us a promise, and and I still wear this ring, because it was, very special to me.
Yeah.
So
So
it is very special to me.
yeah, he's a giver and he's a provider and he's a good man. The interesting thing is, I am a natural born giver. And Cacie will tell you that. She probably told stories about the times where I would give the last thing in my possession, shirt off my back, to someone on the side of the street. That's just, it is in my heart. God speaks to me to give, and I just give immediately. I'm a giver. So I am perfectly attuned to be the right man for her.
And that's one thing that really attracted me to you, because I saw that trait in you that reminded me of that.
And I remember it was at our engagement party. I remember your dad, he said a few words, and he made a statement that I have an identical heart of giving just like him. And he saw that in me, and that was part of the reason why, he believes that I'll be a good husband for you. And that was true. So here's where it gets interesting. Once again, it's like, well, what does this have to do with marriage? Everything. Because the man of her life for the first few decades of her life was setting the standard of how she received love from another man. And so me coming into this thing, like I said, I'm perfectly attuned to be a giver. So I have everything that it takes within me by the Spirit of God to be the kind of man that she needs. But because I didn't completely grasp this whole principle from the get-go, I didn't really catch it when I was trying to love on her my way. See, now let's talk about the way I was raised. My parents took good care of me. I've never gone hungry. I've never been set outdoors, anything like that. But we had more, I guess, long-standing struggle financially when I was growing up, probably longer than you did in the household you grew up in. That's completely changed now, but I was closer to adulthood when my parents began to prosper financially consistently, and I began to see those things, But growing up, I dealt with struggle a lot, financial struggle. And it didn't afford me a bad childhood. My parents raised us very well. They taught us the principles of the kingdom of God, and they took care of us. And a lot of the stuff we went through, me and my brother didn't even know the half of it, because they protected and shielded us and made sure that hell or high water, we were taken care of.
That did not disrupt your
and destroy our family,
Yeah.
So they took very good care of us, And there's lots of people out there who struggle financially all through their lives, but their parents take very good care of them. But I did not receive the same process of love as you did. Not that anyone was right or wrong, but my reception of love and understanding of love was something different. One thing that I watched my dad do was work. What you could stack my dad up against any man.
That man
he will outwork the world.
Yes.
He is a hard-working man and has a very good trait and quality in a man. And I received that quality from him. I am a hard worker. I will go in and spend all hours, like 24 hours straight, just working beyond to my own detriment. Sometimes I've done that, and I'm getting better at that, and you've helped me with that. So that was how I processed and received love. So when we got married, because of how I processed love from my parents, the way I was doling it out to you was more so, I think, in gestures.
Yeah.
It was more gestures and things like that. There's nothing wrong with that, but that wasn't the way you process love. So one thing we talked about in this conversation we had recently was that, you began to accept the way that I showed you love and began to accept the romantic gestures and things like that, and begin to adjust the way you receive love. But your core way of receiving love was still the provision.
Absolutely.
And being taken care of.
For him, and we've talked about this, in other videos.
Yeah.
But Jalen's very imaginative and very romantic, and he likes to create epic scenes, fairy tale moments, and that's all beautiful. But I'm not really a fairy tale kind of girl, and it's like, are the lights gonna be on when I get home? Is there gonna be food in the refrigerator? Can I buy a snack? Can I buy some clothes? Can I take this debit card and swipe it and there's money in the account? Like that to me is romantic. If I ask for something and you're able to give it to me.
Exactly.
And I get off on that. And not that I don't like your gestures, but it's like I want the gesture and
because the thing, it's your love language, and that's the thing. And one thing you got to do, and I want to give you advice here to married couples: don't judge harshly the way that your spouse processes love and say there's something wrong with it, because not the same way that you do. There's nothing wrong with it, and that's what I had to realize. Because when I realized that it was provision that was your love language, so to speak, that's the way you process love, I realized, well, that's the angle I need to come with. Yeah, I have a way, but what you need to understand about the way that I process love is so that you can do that unto me.
Yeah.
But I need to understand the way you process love so I can do it unto you. So we
Yeah.
both make a sacrifice. We get out of our comfort zone and we meet each other where we are and see if this is what you need, then I'm going to give you what you need. And if you see what I need, you'll give me what I need.
Yeah, because you are a gesture type person.
Yeah.
So I could buy you stuff all day and you'll receive it,
Yeah.
but it doesn't impact you the same
Yeah.
way. And sometimes I would get a little bit upset because I'm like, I want you to be like,
Yeah.
oh my God, you had to buy this for me. But he was like, oh, it's nice. Thank you. And I'm like, really? That's it? But if I do the right gesture, you are like wide open. Your eyes are wide open. You are cheesing from ear to ear. I mean, simple stuff like his favorite snack is Doritos and Brisk tea.
Yep.
Okay. And literally, if I come home, if you come home and see Doritos and Brisk tea on the counter, you are happy. Like,
Yep.
you're just like, because that's a gesture. Because it's like, I took the time
To
to
think
think
about
about you and something as simple as that.
Yep.
And there's other things that he like romantic stuff. So I have
Yep.
to go outside of my comfort zone and kind of get into that fairy tale cheesy
I called
moment.
her. I called her on the phone one time when I was at work, and she answered, "Hey, baby," and she answered it in like a very kind of like a soft, sultry voice, and I stumbled over my words, and I'm the one that called her about what I was trying to say to her, and I was like, "Dang, you just got me with that." She's like, "Yeah, I know, you're easy." So it was funny, but it was like it's just simple
He is
gestures
easy.
that make me feel loved, that make me feel like she's romantic toward me. And she doesn't got to spend a dime to do it. And so that's the stuff that I like. So, one thing I'll say is when you buy me gifts, I make the joke that you buy me gifts for me, for you.
Yeah.
You buy me something that you want me to have because you'll get frustrated if I go a long time.
Because he don't think
without-
about himself.
Yeah.
He don't think about himself when it comes to stuff. Like, he'll wear the same shirt until the shirt gets a hole in it. Like,
I won't prioritize that.
he don't prioritize
Boy, you
those
need a
things.
new shirt. Like, you need to get something. You need to fix it. It's not that important to me because once again, I grew up scrappy. I grew up like, okay, if I don't get what I need, I can make it work with this over here. I grew up, being very resourceful like that. So because of that, even now, even if everything is here to meet all the needs, I'll go a long time not meeting the
And I'll be
need
like,
because it's not a
"Babe,"
priority to
I
me.
said, why are you struggling with this? We just buy a new one.
And I'm just like, we don't need to. We can save the money. Like that's just my mentality because that's the way that I, came up. So, but her is completely different. For Cacie, it's like, let's prioritize the comfort level so that I don't have to be stressed out about it, And I had to learn that because I'd be like, well, babe, we don't need that. We're fine right now. But even if I don't think we need it, if it brings comfort to her mind so she doesn't have to think about it, stress about it, that's how she feels loved. And so when the Lord revealed this to me, I began to speak to her. And like you said, you began to cry because I struck that point and realized it. And I let her know that it's okay. There's nothing wrong with you because I can do a material thing and to show you that I love you. And that resonates with you. That doesn't make you materialistic. That doesn't make you wrong. Because God said he would supply all our needs according to riches and glory by Christ Jesus. He said his blessing makes us rich, has no sorrow with it. He said that he would give us the power to get wealth. He said he would give us the desires of our heart. So there's nothing wrong with processing love when someone does a material thing for you. If that was the case, if that was wrong, then sex would be evil because sex is a material thing that you are doing to show love unto someone. But that's not evil, so neither is giving of a gift or showing provision to someone
Now,
to process
I don't want
love.
to give the impression that I need a gift or a material thing to feel quote unquote loved. It's not that at all. It's just, again, meeting the needs of your spouse and making them feel safe and comfort and secure. And it's really about the security aspect
safety and
of
security.
it all. Because I'm not a materialistic person. I know you love me. Even if you don't have anything to give me, I know that. But again, like you said, we had different upbringings. So you may be able to weather something a little bit longer or a different way than I am. Now, I've learned because we went through our financial struggles in the beginning. So I've learned to be content and I've learned how to draw on the grace of God to make something out of nothing. And I've actually found fun in doing that. And then when the finances freed up, we reduced stuff, and it's like, oh dang, I was kind of having fun, making stuff out of nothing.
Yeah.
But so yeah.
But what the Lord showed me after I realized all this, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is how Cacie ticks. He was like, this is God talking to me. He's like, so the best system that you need to be believing me for, this is God talking to me, saying you need to be believing me for, is a system in which any financial matter in this household you can take care of without her having to ever stress or think about it. The finances to be set up in such a way that everything can be taken care of and she don't ever got to worry about it and she can just enjoy herself.
You're my girl, you're the type of woman to make a man get right. You're my world, you keep my mind spinning all through the